let's get cracking, I suppose. So thank you all for joining today. This is Winning Combination, a team up with the Microsoft 365 PnP Community and become a SharePoint All Star. It's going to be a lot of fun today. We're going to show you off all of the resources that are available to you for free in the PnP community. So we're going to cover them at a rapid pace, but we're going to give you a lot of URLs to go and dive deeper into the individual projects and resources that you may find interesting for your application. Some basic slides at first. We want to thank our sponsors for today. We know this is a virtual event, but there is still cost, and some of those costs go to charity today, so that's fantastic. So we want to thank our sponsors. Speaking of charity, there is M365 Chicago supporting the Chicago Public Schools through Children First Fund. So there's an opportunity there to contribute even more and take advantage of that 50-50 raffle. It'll be just like we're at a hockey game, so it'll be lots of fun. And then please help provide your feedback on the conference. That's always welcome, and I'll say that as a speaker, we always like to know what you would like to hear better, except unless, of course, the room's cold. That's your fault. So. All right, my name is David Warner. I am a Microsoft MVP, work for Catapult Systems, a PnP team member. Love to collaborate with the community, huge sports fan, but an even bigger fan of collaborating with the community. So please don't hesitate to reach out after this event. I think I can say this for all of us. We love to collaborate with everyone in the community and provide additional guidance on how to take advantage of the things in the community and the PnP resources, which is why we're here today. Up next with me is Hugo. Hugo?
Hi, everyone. My name is Hugo Bernier, unless you don't like my presentation, in which case my name is Chris. I've been working with SharePoint ever since it was called Tahoe, so a code name before 2001, and that's pretty much all I do. I'm a geek. I'm the world's laziest developer, but I'm also an MVP and a member of the PnP team. I can be reached on my blog at tahoeninjas.blog, and I'm always happy to respond to people on Twitter. And our next speaker is someone who, during the day, he's just a consultant, but after hours, he braves the depths of Facebook to monitor the news groups and help everyone secretly. Beau Cameron.
Thanks, Hugo. Hi, everyone. My name is Beau Cameron. I'm a slide two, if you haven't.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm really trying.
I'm a Microsoft MVP, member of the PnP team. As Hugo said, I'm on a lot of support forums. So if you're on Tech Community or Reddit or the Facebook groups, you can find me there. If you ever want to reach out, you can contact me on my Twitter or my email pictured here. And yeah, that's me. And last and certainly least is our next speaker, Chris Kent.
All right, I'm Chris. I'm not sure why I'm here, and I'm feel confused. That help?
Not really, no.
No. There's stuff on the screen. There you go. All right. Moving on.
Beau.
All right, this is me. All right, so thanks for joining. As everyone kind of mentioned, this is a talk on the PnP community and how you can benefit from it. And so we're going to talk about what patterns and practices is and what it means to you. And then we will address our three pillars, which are learn, reuse, and share. No crazy horses today.
Yeah, unfortunately. So we all know it's hard to keep up with technology. The number of changes that are going on, especially in a cloud environment, is really hard. If we look at the frequency of updates that Microsoft has been, this is just stats of how often Microsoft updates a Microsoft 365 app, so the Office client. It started with like one update a year, and then it went to 10 updates, 38 updates in 2019, and 41 updates, and the year is not over. So obviously the pace is accelerating, which makes it harder for everyone to stay up to date. And if you're a developer, it's probably even worse, right? Since 2016, when the SharePoint Framework has been released, there's been an average of 5 updates a year. So this year has only been 2, but I think with COVID, we can understand why. And I think the team is still trying really hard to come up with version SPFx 1.12. But the whole point is, if you're a developer, how do you keep up with all this stuff? You got an average of 2 months to learn every version of the SharePoint framework between versions.
So let's talk about how you can keep up. We have the Microsoft 365 Patterns and Practices community. Now, that PnP obviously stands for Patterns and Practices and not PowerPoint presentation skills. You're struggling a little bit there, I think, as the machine's having some problems. Patterns and Practices is comprised of over 1,300 worldwide contributors, right? So it's governed and administered by 30 MVPs and Microsoft employees, but it is made up of over 1,300 worldwide contributors. And you could be part of that, by the way. It is a completely open source, inclusive community that is available for you not to only consume, but contribute. And we'll talk more about that throughout today's session. There's tons of resources available to you to take advantage of, but you are also able to provide back. And that's what makes it so great, is that we're not trying to keep up with all of those challenging progressive features, as Hugo had mentioned, on our own. We're able to do it together. And what kind of numbers does this garner? What is the effect? Well, as we see here, Microsoft, or PnP, has been awarded as a reference model for community engagement by Microsoft. That was an internal award. There's over 500 samples across multiple repositories, 47,000 tenants, 80,000 GitHub visitors, as well as 2.8 million watch time minutes for all of the videos that have been comprised by the PnP team. Now, one of the stats that's not here because it's ever changing is that the PnP tools are used at 12,000 requests per second. That's amazing, 12,000 requests per second. So clearly the community is working together, and we're going to show you some of those tools that are available to you today. The 3 tenets, as Beau had mentioned, is learn, reuse, and share. And so I'm going to hand it back to Beau, where he's going to dive into the learning.
Awesome. Thanks, David. So as Hugo and David mentioned, learn is PnP community. And so what does that mean for you? Well, we have a lot of initiatives set out via calls, via webinars, via conferences, or even tools themselves that will help you learn the tool sets and make you better at your job. So the first thing is to stay connected with our community calls. We have these calls every week during the month. We have a general SharePoint dev call. If you want to join and hear from Microsoft and the PnP team kind of what the new updates are, maybe when the next version of SPFx might come out, or you might be interested in Microsoft Graph. Well, there is a Microsoft Graph call you can join as well with the Graph team and see all the new things that are coming out. During these calls, we announce product updates. There are community demos by other people in the community, which show off some really cool tools and things people like yourself who work every day in this technology are trying to build and want to share with the community. And then at the end, we usually have some conversations and Q&A if there is time. So if you do have a question that might be able to be answered in one of these calls, I highly recommend joining and seeing if someone can help you out. Next slide, please, Hugo. All right. So one of the things that, aside from calls, maybe you can't make the calls because you're at work and that can be difficult. Well, we do have content that we publish called Community Docs, and this is headed by Mark Anderson. And this is kind of a separation from the out-of-the-box Microsoft documentation. The docs you're going to find here are built by community members, and they provide real-world scenarios from people actually working in the field. Microsoft Docs are great, but sometimes they miss the mark on really giving you the information that you need in a real-world situation. So this is constantly evolving. It's a nice resource for yourself to come here and view content by others, but you can also contribute here as well. So if you think something's missing from Microsoft Docs or even from the community docs, we also would love contributions. So these are open source, just like everything else within the PnP.
We had bets going that I was going to be the one that freezes.
I think we lost Beau. So we can move on to the videos, and I'll just cover those for us.
Yep, there you go.
All right, so learn at your own pace with YouTube channels, right? We have a lot of videos. All those community calls that Beau had referenced are recorded and are always available. A lot of the demos are broken out, so those weekly webcasts, the demo videos, tutorials, the PnP team works on putting together independent videos as well. And we're trying to keep them short, right, for the community to take advantage of, because we know that we're all busy. So a lot of times the tutorials are very short. The Microsoft 365 developer has training content, and as we mentioned, there are community calls, and all of those are recorded and put into the community YouTube channels. We also have, for the first time this year, a virtual conference occurred. Now, this was recorded as well, so those are available in video form. But we're looking to do this repeatedly, a couple of times throughout the year, hopefully. And that's going to be updates on all the new technology that are coming, that has come out and is coming out, how to take advantage of it. And again, we try to do it in short sessions, so that's a little easier to consume, not like a 5-hour, or level 500 session that's going to be confusing for you. So you can find those videos already at aka.ms PnP Virtual Conference for the very first. Look to see more of that consistently throughout the year as we move forward. One of the other opportunities is a sample gallery. Hugo, tell us more about that.
Well, thank you, David. So the sample galleries, right now we have over 4 sample galleries that we use for different things. And the whole idea here is, instead of someone or everyone having to start learning from scratch every single time that they start a new task, we're trying to get the community to contribute to samples that represent sometimes it's just a basic concept, like how do I show the web part version in a web part, or sometimes it's an entire solution. And so we have, and it says hundreds here, it's actually getting closer to 1,000 right now. And it's various technology. So we have web parts, we have extensions, we have teams, and we have list formatting samples. And then probably one of the coolest things is that for each one of those, we have faceted searches that allows you to find the samples that are relevant to you. Our goal is to make the sample repositories that one place, or in this case, that 4 places where you go when you start a new task. It should be by default the first place that you go. And let me show you an example of how that works. Welcome back, Beau.
Thank you. Apologies.
So here, if I go to the sample browser, you can see here that I have, let's see if it works. Come on. David, we might have to switch to your computer.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is the day it is, I suppose.
She's a frozen.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let me try to spin this up real quick. I've got it ready.
I just want to point out quickly that it is Friday the 13th, and so
yeah,
a lot of bad things are happening right now.
But it's 2020, so it's potentially the reverse, right? Oh, there you go. Now it's catching up. All right.
All right. Well, go ahead.
No, it's not catching up. Okay, switch, David.
Okay. All right. We're just going to hand the football off here. Let me do that.
Carlos says it's been a great day.
Yes.
I guess it's just us.
All right. So you should be seeing full-framed video playing, Hugo?
Yes, we do.
There you go.
There you
Okay.
go. Thank you. All right, so now I'm going to pretend that I'm really clicking on this. So you can see here that we have samples with some previews of what the samples look like, and we have the ability to actually, go look at a short description of the sample, and understand who created it, what technology it's using, and things like that. And then hopefully the video will catch up here. There you go. David, your cursor is in the way. Yeah. So you can also click by facet. So if you want to say, well, I want to work only in React, you can actually search by only React web parts here. And if you want to look at different types of different aspects, for example, if you have a different version of SharePoint Framework because you have to support multiple versions of SharePoint, SharePoint Online, and things like that, you can actually do that. And this is a great opportunity if you're looking to upgrade samples and contribute back to the community. You can definitely do that. Speaking of compatibility, you can also go to the compatibility matrix to actually look at web parts by how they're hosted. So for example, you can see web parts that work within Outlook. The PnP Controls tab allows you to find the amazing PnP controls and the web parts that use these controls. As you can see, for example, here, the majority of web parts actually use the web part title control because it's a great control. But wait, if you order now, you can also look at by technology. So different Microsoft technologies that are used across the web parts that are not necessarily related to SharePoint, but they like things like GitHub. You can also look by your favorite author. And Chris Kent made me do this. So I searched for Chris Kent here. And you can see that Chris has been prolific in the web part department. Keyword, if you're looking for a particular keyword, you can search for that. So for example, here's some web parts that relate to photos. And we're trying to more and more grab these keywords and make it possible for you to search for anything you want. When you click on a web part, it takes you to the repository that contains the web part with a screenshot, usually a larger screenshot of the web part, and the instructions on how to reconfigure it and how to build it, who built it, and what cool features you will find.
And one of those samples, as I move forward, is the content query web part. Now, as Hugo mentioned, a lot of those samples are all SPFx driven, but you don't have to be an SPFx developer to take advantage of some of the tools. This is a perfect example of one of those tools that is available to you. You may have thought it died with Classic, right? It was very powerful. You could bring data out of a list and do something with it, but you had to use XSL. It was not cross-site collection compatible. In this case, now it is. It is cross-site collection scoped. It can pull in all the data from the lists and libraries that you want, but instead of having to rely on XSL, you have full access to handlebar templates, which allow you to create rich HTML experiences using the same familiar filtering mechanisms as well as the scoping and sorting and all that. And you can include custom JavaScript along with that, where you can identify the different information that you want. So you see right now is going in and selecting the fields it would like. It's going to show you how to edit that template here, so you can see what the handlebar template looks like out of the box. But then you can also reference your own handlebar template to have a custom experience that's not just simplistic like you see there out of the box. With that comes the ability to include custom JavaScript, so you can create a very rich interactive experience if that is the desire. And we see a little bit more about that here. Now, one of the other features that are available to you that requires very little development experience is list formatting. Chris, take it away.
So list formatting, awesome stuff. All right, so this is column formatting and view formatting. And you can use this to quickly and easily add instant meaning, visual appeal, and dynamic visualizations. So let's take a look. So this works inside Microsoft Lists. This works inside your SharePoint list. This works inside Teams. It's going to work in the upcoming Microsoft Lists app. It's a fantastic way to really make your list look far better than just an online Excel spreadsheet, right? So, for instance, you could do things like take a yes/no field and turn them into checkboxes, right? It makes it much more obvious that these are tasks, right? Or you can come over here and you can grab any due date, and if it's past due, make it red, right? And the very next day, if another one turns due, it'll be red as well. So those are all dynamic. It's awesome. You can match all of your theming, right? You can do a lot of really cool stuff with HTML, CSS, SVGs, do whatever you want here, but because we've got several classes available, your formats can look nice and match your corporate theming no matter what horrible colors they pick, right? And then, of course, you can do some dynamic visualizations. So things like items assigned to the current user, right? So when I come to this list, all the items that have my name in that assigned to field are going to be blue. Someone like Dan Gump shows up, his lines will be blue. Someone like Nate Williams, his lines will be blue. That gives you the full context of the list while still allowing you to focus on exactly what you want to do. You can do cool things like dynamic progress bars to really show that progress, right? You can do the progress. You can also do like a gauge or a pie chart. And as April's pointing out, there's that It's Flow Time button, right? So there's a whole series of actions you can take. You can even customize that flow panel when it opens, right? To a lot of people like run flow. I don't know what that is, right? So make it say launch, right? Or make it say, send to SAP, right? Whatever it is, so people actually know what they're doing. And because you can create those buttons right in there, you can actually make which flow dynamic, which they're going to launch, right? So it really helps guide your users both visually and in the actual process itself. All right, next guy. All right, and make sure you check out, there's a bunch of samples. We've got 100+ samples, view samples, column samples. And in fact, just today we added a whole new tool so you can take HTML and CSS. You can write those directly and we'll generate the JSON format for you. So that's a tool that's open source but provided by Microsoft. It's available as part of the samples repo, so check that out. And if you've got more questions about list formatting, be sure to check out our calls. But also there's a session, I think, right after this with April and David where they're going to really kind of jump into that and help you get started with some of this.
Awesome, cool. My turn again. Hopefully the internet stays put this time. So we've seen some samples. We've seen column view format samples, where you can find those, and then the web part samples as well. And we really put those under the learn category because we believe you can use these as examples for how you can build your web parts, and not just as a place to reuse from, but you definitely can. And so one of these examples is something that I've been working on with Eric Overfield, is the SharePoint Starter Kit. And some of you might be familiar with it. You might be familiar with the lookbook as well, which in the back end of the system is the same technology. So the Starter Kit is a tool for developers, a end-to-end provisioning solution that shows you how to package and deploy SPFx solutions, so web parts, extensions, and deploy them through the PnP provisioning engine. So at the current state, we support SharePoint Online, and SharePoint 2019 is currently in the works. The reason we have a separate build for it is because a lot of the web parts on the SharePoint Online side use Microsoft Graph, which aren't available within SharePoint 2019. We try to show different examples using different PnP technologies. So one of them being some web parts use Pnp Js, some web parts use reusable controls, and some web parts use the Graph API and the Graph Toolkit. And so we're currently in the process of converting some of our examples now to utilize some more of the Graph Toolkit features that are coming out from the Graph team. It also is not just SharePoint Demo, explores how to build these SPFx solutions and web parts that will work within Microsoft Teams. And so I highly recommend that you check this out. And so, David, if you could go to the next slide, I'm going to show a demo here. But the starter kits includes 16 SharePoint Framework web parts that have been built by the PnP team and also some members of the community. So this is an open platform as well. It includes 5 SharePoint Framework extensions, 1 library component, and then we have a provisioning template behind the scenes. So when you deploy this out, it will deploy 1 hub site, 2 team sites with pre-configured pages. So I'm going to give a brief demo of how you can access it and how it's deployed. Can you see my screens all right?
We can, yep.
All right, perfect, thank you. So if you go to github/pnp/sp-starter kit, this is the repository for the solution. This was released originally in 2018 as version 1, and we included all the web parts as a single package. We found a lot of issues with that. People wanted to deploy 1 web part, but not all of them. And then also the build times were pretty significant because there were so many SPFx solutions inside. So we actually have separated out all the web parts into their own SharePoint Framework solutions. So if you go into the source folder here, you will see all of the web parts and extensions that you have access to that you can pull out and reuse yourself. There are a couple prerequisites here. You do have to be a tenant admin. You have to have your app catalog deployed, you have to be a term store admin as well, because it does deploy term sets within the solution. So follow through the prereqs here, but deploying it is super simple. You're going to download the solution here. You can just download the code, open up PowerShell, navigate to the solution, to the source. Inside of there is a provisioning folder where you will see the PnP provisioning templates here. And then you'll just say apply PnP provisioning template with the path to that template. And it takes about 10 minutes or so, but it's going to deploy a fully built kind of base intranet for developers to explore and use this as a real world scenario for your customers or even for your own company. So you'll see that it deploys out a page. It has some custom web parts and some out-of-the-box web parts, so out-of-the-box news, out-of-the-box tiles, but then we have our custom emails using Microsoft Graph. And so it builds out a home page, some department sites as well. So I can go to the HR site here, and we have not built out any page here, but it's an example of you can deploy out kind of an entire end-to-end provisioning solution using this framework. So I would definitely recommend checking this out and seeing how the PnP team recommends you deploy out solutions in your environment. Thank you. David, you can share.
Yep, it should be coming back up momentarily. You should all see Learn on your screen. Let me know when you do.
Yep.
All right, excellent. So we're going to move from Learn to Reuse. And so I'm still going to hand the mic right back to Beau as he starts talking about some of the reusable tools.
Awesome. So we've seen samples and solutions that allow developers to come in and see how things are built, how they're implemented. And while you can reuse some of those things, we do have tools that exist that you probably already use. So one of those being the 365 CLI. This is a command line interface that works for Mac. Originally, the PnP PowerShell commandlets, which were the extension off of SharePoint Online Management Shell, those only work in PowerShell. So a member of the team said, well, I want to run my own command line from Mac. So that's when the CLI for 365 was developed. These command line interfaces allow you to administer your SharePoint environment. The PowerShell allows you to do 2013, 2016, 2019, and SharePoint Online. And one of the cool features about the CLI is that there's a feature in it for upgrading SharePoint Framework solutions. So if you are looking to upgrade your 1.6 to 1.7 web part to 1.10, you can run a command within the CLI, and it will guide you through that process. We also have tools for Graph and the Graph Toolkit, which you can reuse. The Graph Toolkit is a set of pre-built components, kind of like reusable controls that we have for PnP, and use them in your solutions. There's also a modernization scanner, which I won't talk about too much because Chris will towards the end, but just know that these command line tools exist and they help you administer your environment, help you become more efficient as an admin or as a developer. And next one. All right, Hugo.
So on the development tool side, what we have here is a bunch of tools that are really geared to accelerating your development process. Everybody knows that there's the out-of-the-box, well, not so out-of-the-box, but the Microsoft SPFx Yeoman generator, and it does great, right? It allows you to build a SharePoint web part or team solution really quickly, but it doesn't include some of the advanced features. For example, giving you the ability to select, which libraries you would like to include, whether you want to use testing right away, and things like that. So the PnP SPFx Yeoman generator is something that is built on top of the Microsoft generator, but it adds a little bit more advanced functionality for you. We also have the Teams Yeoman generator, which allows you to build Teams apps directly using the same kind of experience. And then we have the Microsoft Teams Toolkit, which also allows you to get started with building things in Microsoft Teams. I see a trend here. We also have the Pnp Js, right, which allows you to embed JavaScript libraries inside your apps to make calls to SharePoint and to the graph through this one single library. Finally, we have the PnP Core SDK, which you can use inside your .NET solutions to actually make calls to Pnp Js and graph and things like that. On the next slide, we also have some same thing. So the next slide, this is the same slide, David. There you go. Thank you. On the next slide, we have also some reusable controls. Now, why would we do reusable controls when the Fluent or Office Fabric UI or whatever it's called nowadays, they offer a great experience that has a consistent look and feel. Well, these controls really are designed to take that out-of-the-box experience to a whole new level. So, for example, if you have a web part that has a title and you want the title to be editable, everybody would have to write their own code to create the standardized web part title. But the PnP controls actually gives you a web part title control that you can embed at the top of your web part. And there's really cool samples, really cool templates. For example, the placeholder control that allows you to tell people, hey, your web part is not configured yet. There's a file picker, which gives you an experience that allows you to actually select a file that looks exactly like the out-of-the-box experience for Microsoft 365. We also have field controls in the library, which allows you to render data from a field. And again, to do an experience here that allows you to make it look as close as possible as the out-of-the-box experience, but it allows you to customize the functionality. And now up to Chris.
All right. So unless you are brand new to Office 365, you've probably got a bunch of classic pages in there, or you've been around SharePoint for a while and you've got some on-prem environments, right? Maybe even 2010, oh no, or 2013, 2016, something like that. And in those, you're probably using classic publishing pages, because that was the best thing going for a very long time. But now people have seen the demo of the modern stuff, right? That's where Microsoft's investment is. That's where you want to be. We've got maybe in some cases thousands of these pages, right? What's the best way to move forward with that? So again, the best thing you can do is hit that with the Modernization Scanner. So the Modernization Scanner is going to give you a bunch of reports in Excel. It's going to take a look at workflows. It's going to take a look at custom solutions, anything there that's going to cause you trouble in modernizing those classic pages. But then you can do this page transformation. You can do it via PowerShell, .NET, or even the ribbon. So let's click over to the next one here, get a little details on that. Woo, somebody, there we go. Maybe it's going. That was a little song I wrote. All right, so one of the awesome things about the modernization stuff is you don't even have to do like a double hop or anything like that. So I've literally used this to bring in publishing pages from a SharePoint 2010 environment right into Office 365, and it modernized them along the way. Right, so it didn't bring them in as classic, and then I had to figure out the page layouts and all that nightmare. Right, it brought them in. I was able to map over all web parts, page layouts, everything, all into the modern, and it just worked great. So if you're comfortable with doing something like that, and you want to just set up all that mapping for everyone, you can do that. If you want to do kind of a lighter version, you can actually install something in the ribbon. So when you hit a button in the ribbon, you can let people opt in page by page, right? So when they do that, it's going to create a copy of that page, it's going to modernize it, and they'll have an option to say, yeah, this one's good. And if they choose that, it'll just get rid of that classic page, and there you go. Everything's updated to use that new modern. If for some reason they hate it and they say, no, I like my old classic junk, right? They can hit that button too until you later force them to move on. So check this out. It's a really, really great tool and solution. Again, you can integrate it with any custom tools you're using and use it right alongside your toolkit there. Okay, let's hit this next guy here. Along that same lines is this PnP CSOM core. So if you're a .NET developer, you're going to want to hit this. So this is the same thing that's powering that modernization framework. It's powering PnP PowerShell and lots of other tools, and you can use it too. So if you've got a .NET console app, or you've got a .NET whatever app, right, just go to Nugget, I don't know how to say it, right? That button there with your packages, add this one in. You're going to see automatically things are going to show up because it really simplifies things and enhances existing methods. right? So you're going to see things like you want to do that CSOM execute, right? You're going to execute and retry. It's going to handle that retry loop because I don't know if you're aware of this. Sometimes CSOM not super reliable, right? And you got to retry it. But it's going to take care of that for you. It's going to wrap all of that up for you. If you want to use the PnP provision as part of your custom solution, you can handle all of that. It's awesome. All right, hit this next guy here. Come on now. Hugo. There it is. All right. So we mentioned this before, right? So this SharePoint Framework Yeoman generator, yeah, this is provided by PnP. Nothing wrong with using the out-of-the-box one. But if you'd like to make things a little easier on yourself, or you want to use the framework, say Vue.js or even Angular elements that aren't available as part of the out-of-the-box, do this. It's going to take care of adding all those references in. You can even do like things like jQuery, right? Reference that from a CDN. Or if you want to immediately take advantage of those reusable controls or Pnp Js, let the generator handle that for you. So highly recommend this Yeoman generator to just get a leg up so you're not doing all that extra plumbing at the beginning of every project. All right, here. So if you are doing any kind of JavaScript development, whether that's SharePoint Framework or other, right? Maybe you're still working on add-in, right? Or even doing some Node.js type stuff and trying to hit against Office 365 or Graph, you're going to want to do Pnp Js. So there's a couple of reasons for that. It's a fluent API, which is awesome because it provides IntelliSense right in your code editor. We'll see that in a minute. But if you've ever tried to do batching through REST calls, you're probably still working on it because it's very, very difficult, highly error prone. So this is all written up for you. You can literally write your things out, and then right before you hit Git, you say in batch. And when you're ready, you execute all those commands. It's going to take care of it all for you. And see if you're going to sort it out in the results so you can handle them with each individual promises. It's awesome. What about caching? Right? So we all should be doing caching. We all know that. Maybe we've written 14 different little caching libraries we're passing around and using. It's built into Pnp Js, right? It's literally a configuration setting. You just turn it on. You set your timeouts. And you can do that per operation if you want, or you can do it across the board. So that's awesome. It just takes care of that. It works across multiple browsers and all the different considerations you've got to do there. And of course, it is used all over the place. So let's take the next slide and we'll take a look how we do that Pnp Js. All right, so Pnp Js, you're going to install that, just using npm packages. It's broken out to make it easier, kind of choose your own adventure style. Right, so exactly what you need, you can bring that in here. Go ahead and click to the next part here and take a look at this. Well, not that. Let's do one more. If you want to just take care of that one, you can do a one-stop approach. Any JS developers see any problems with my REST call here? There are a couple of problems here. I'm going to pretend you were shouting them out, but you were on mute. So you can see right here, we've got two, right? So normally you would write this on, you would just write it out as a string. Right, but we've got the underscore of the API, super easy to do. We added extra parameters and we forgot to put that ampersand between them. Right, really easy to do. In some cases, you're not even going to spot this until it's running, right? Hopefully you're doing, QA and all that other stuff, but a lot of us are, we're just trying to turn around something quick for finance, right, or HR that's asking for something. We put this in, and no one's really tested that archive records button or, the delete button until they finally do, and that's when your typo is huge, right? And it causes a major problem. So let's take a look at how Pmpjs helps you solve this. So this is an actual little animation from like VS Code, and you can see I don't even have to remember that lists are under web, right? And then I've got this option to do get by ID or title, right? It's going to prompt me for everything. So I've got the IntelliSense. I don't have to remember all these obscure REST API points. And because it's doing it this way, right, I'm not getting that string concatenation issue. This is huge. This is awesome. Even for the smallest projects, I use Pmpjs all the time. You can reference from CDN. It's great. All right, let's check out the next part here. I think, David, you're up.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chris. So as we go from reuse to share, we're going to take a look at some of the things that are available to you as a developer on how we can grow as a community, improve the resources that we have, not just be forever left with version 1.0. To start out with, I'm going to hand the mic back over to Hugo, who's going to talk to us about the open source repositories.
Awesome, thank you. So we have a lot of repositories, and this list here on the screen is barely scratching the surface. But these are all repositories that their success is absolutely due to the fact that people in the community have been contributing to it. So we have SPFx web parts, which we showed you earlier. We have extensions. We have list formatting, which is managed by Chris. We have team samples. And we have the React reusable controls, including the property pane control and the regular controls, as well as the for Microsoft 365 and Pmpjs. If you're wondering, is it my place to contribute? It's absolutely, you're welcome to contribute. Again, it wouldn't have gotten to where it is without the help of everyone. So thank you, and we welcome you to contribute. And with that, I'll pass it back to David to talk about how to contribute.
All right, thanks, Hugo. So we invite contributions via demos. If you've attended the PnP calls, then you likely know it's not just the PnP team jumping on doing all the demos. It is open to the entire community. And here is a together mode example of how many join and are part of that community. So we want you to be part of it as well. The opportunity is there for you to share samples that you've created on your own, whether they've been internal. We would love for you to put them into those repos that Hugo had mentioned, but it's not required. This helps others to learn. It helps them to see ways in which you can use the new functionality that Microsoft is providing in perhaps ways that you had not thought about taking advantage of that. You're going to become rich and famous. Oh, well, we hope. We certainly hope you will. But maybe you're not ready to do a demo on your own. We also have what's called the buddy system, which is part of the upcoming Sharing is Caring initiative, which I'll talk about in a moment. But that buddy system gives you the opportunity to be teamed up with another MVP or PnP team member. What will happen in that scenario is you will work out a demo, you will work out together the demo as well as the slide deck, and you'll present together. Takes off some of that stress of feeling like, well, I'm recording or being recorded and I'm presenting in front of a global audience and I've not done this a lot. That can be stressful and to be a little intimidating, but we don't want you to feel like that. So we're providing you the opportunity to buddy up with another member of the PnP team or an MVP who's used to doing those kinds of presentations, and then you get that experience. We'll provide you some of the things to be aware of when you're doing those presentations, some of the gotchas, like moving out the little Teams window when you start your presentation. That's always something we have to ask for. So we're going to provide you that guidance, and it also is a great opportunity to collaborate with other community members all over the world. So please take advantage of that. Now, in terms of contributing, that too can be a little intimidating. The Sharing is Caring initiative is something that Hugo and I run within the Patterns and Practices community. Now, these are live hands-on sessions that provide you not only contribution guidance, but consumption guidance. So if you want to know how to take advantage of using those sample repositories for SPFx web parts or extensions or library components or whatever that Hugo had identified earlier, we're going to show you how you can take advantage of that using certain tools like NVM and stuff like that. If you've been using those for a while, though, and you feel like I'm at the point where I'd like to contribute, but I'm not a GitHub expert. None of us really feel like we are. There's lots of foreign terms, forking and blaming and master and all of that. Where do these things all work together? We're going to show you how to take advantage of contributing back, and it's not at all hard. These sessions build upon each other. So you start from a first-time contributor session. As we can see here on the screen, it starts there. There's some of the November sessions that have already occurred and are still available actually for registration. We have the community docs session on how to contribute to that, which Beau had talked about. And so we want to provide you the opportunity for getting started using the tools as well as giving back to improve the tools. And that's what these sessions are for. They're small, they're intimate, they're hands-on, they're not recorded, so it's a complete safe space for you to ask questions and learn about that process. And we're going to do it together. You don't have to feel like you're alone in the community having to figure this stuff out on your own. All right, so please, aka.ms, Sharing is Caring. We try to have a lot of fun. Hugo and I try to make it light and fun and use a lot of jokes, and it's always an opportunity. You can even share your own screen if you're having trouble, and it's very interactive, and we'll provide you that, and we'll work together, and that's the collaborative part and spirit of the community. So go to aka.ms, Sharing is Caring, and sign up. And we're also going to be having a multi-day workshop coming up soon that takes you from learning how to build your workstation, right? If you've never done SPFx development in the past, we're going to show you how to start building what are the essential tools you need on your workstation, and then we're going to move into upgrading some of those samples, using some of those tools like the CLI. How do you upgrade an existing web part? Maybe you go download one that's a little older, you'd like to upgrade it, and then we're going to show you how to give that back to the community, how you can contribute it back, and you can actually get credit for that on those monthly community calls with PnP, which is a fantastic opportunity to get some recognition for the hard work that we appreciate you putting in. With that, we want to thank you. We're going to turn this sharing into thanks and appreciate you attending. We're about 5 minutes early, so I think that's an opportunity for some Q&A. If anybody has some Q&A, feel free to throw in the chat. I think they locked down the muting, so I don't know if we can, if you're able to come off mute. Don't believe so, but if you have any questions, feel free to throw them into the chat. Otherwise, we want to thank you for attending on behalf of Beau and Hugo and Chris. Oh my gosh, Hugo is now. Hugo, are you behind me?
Yes. Way to go, Chris Kent, sending unsecured links to everybody. Thank you, everyone, for attending.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. No, you hang up first.